Alright everyone, welcome back to Automotive Anatomy, another drive and talk. And recently on the community tab on YouTube I posted, if you had $1 million, would you invest in yourself? And that's crazy because when we talk about investing, we know that we can invest on stocks, we can invest on companies, we can invest on, I don't know, whatever. But like, what if you were the person that you needed to invest on? Knowing your work ethic, knowing your energy, knowing your motivation, knowing your desires, ambitions, would you honestly invest in yourself in whatever area? And I think once you start looking at yourself through that lens, then you start understanding like, hey, I'm wasting a lot of time maybe watching TV. Now, I'm not trying to say that if you're watching TV you're lazy or that you're not amounting to nothing. Because you can be watching TV after running a very successful company or after working or doing something that brought you so much joy, and it's time for you to realize, nah, that's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is most of us, we know what happened, who got kicked off the island per se. We know which team drafted who coming out of college. We know so much more about the lives of other ones. Oh, did you see that Drake went to this club? I don't know. And when you start asking those questions that way, I think that there has to be some type of nice little balance. Have time for that, but what about the rest? And it's not just about financial aspect. Don't think that I want to say just financially. Would you invest in yourself? What about the time? The time that you're putting into your stuff. You know, I'm not much of a reader. Like I've shared before, I like audiobooks. So if I wasn't talking to you guys right now as I'm driving, very unlikely that I'll be listening to music. I'll be listening to either audiobooks, motivational speakers, or things of that nature. I feel like there's always a time for you to grow. I've had conversation, and again, it's all the way you see things. You know, I've had people who are like, dude, I sit in traffic and I hate it. And there's other individuals who are like, dude, my commute's awesome because I can sit, listen to audiobooks, and I get a lot of things done. Same commute, different mentality. And so those are the individuals that are like, you know, I'd rather not commute via car. I'd rather commute public transportation because I get to do some other stuff. Now, to some people, public transportation is embarrassing, but it's the same thing, public transportation. How are you using it? I get a lot of things done, and I get to kind of mellow down from work, and when I go home, I'm in a better mood than if I was driving 2 hours. I get home and I'm still pissed off because I just drove 2 hours and plus my job. And so when you look at it that way, I'm talking about real investment. Investment as in, are you reading? If you're spiritual, a spiritual person, are you reading the Bible? Or whatever, I don't know, whatever religion you are you filling yourself with positive messages? The thing is, we're telling all these subliminal messages to ourselves on a constant basis. Constant basis. And we don't know it because they're subliminal. It's the same thing why billboards are so... there's a reason why billboards haven't gone away. Oh, it's a waste of money to just have a standing picture still. Not necessarily. They're going to hit you once, and you might not go buy that burger right there and then. But 3 hours later, you're going to be like, man, I'm craving Carl's Jr. I haven't had it in a while. Maybe you pass a Carl's Jr. billboard. And that's the same thing. We're constantly telling ourselves these subliminal messages. We're constantly telling ourselves, you can do it or you can't do it. Or why you can't do it. Or why the other person who's doing it is being able to do it. I'll give you an example. YouTube channels. I could sit back and say, then my channel's not growing because I don't have the resources and the people and the editing skills and the money and so that the hooligans have. That's why hooligans have been growing and they have 4 different pages that are just killing it. Well, that might be true. At the same time, you also have to say, you know, they're also investing a lot into their company. There's a lot of people they have on their payroll. There's so much that they got going on. And 1, you're not there. 2, If you want to be there, you can hire people and then kind of grow that way. But that's not what I'm looking for. So then the whole aspect of me comparing myself to others doesn't apply. And so that's what I'm saying. When I talk about investing in yourself, to somebody else investing, if I ask that question, hey, if you had $1 million, would you invest in yourself? They might be like, yes, because I'm pumped up about creating my business, and I'm pumped up about this, and I want to have this big house, and I want to blah, 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 blah. And to somebody else, investing to them would be like, yes, because I want to work less, and I want to spend more time with my family. And I love having conversation with my kids. That's investing in yourself. You know, there's so many different ways you can go about this. The point is, for me, investment is doing something that makes you happy. Ultimately, you have to be happy. We know that we're always going to be neglecting somebody. My thing is, don't neglect yourself. You know, often too many times we see people that are willing to invest in other people. And how do you invest? You give up your time to go help them out. And you never get that in return. And then now you're feeling kind of upset and angry that you're doing that for other people and people won't do it for you. And I'm one of those people who I'm going to tell you, like, hey, don't get mad. You chose to do that for them. One, I know sometimes people do it out of, you're not trying to get something in return, but once in a while it feels good if you could return the freaking favor. Most people are not like that. And so that's the reason why I'm always going to have to say, invest in yourself, put yourself first, and above everybody, put yourself first. And then once you feel you're comfortable, then go ahead and invest in somebody else. If you don't value your time, don't expect anybody else to value it. If you don't value what you're doing for fun, don't expect anybody else to do it. And so, if I can be honest with you guys, if I had, let's go with $1 million physical money, if I could invest it in myself, I would have a lot of questions about myself. There's a lot of things I'm very, very goal-driven, ambitious, structured, but there's others that I'm not. And so that's the question that I'm like, hey, how can I fix this? How can I take the areas that I may have challenges in, and how can I, flip them without the financial, aspect of it. So, like, for instance, one of the things that I really, really have challenges with is, my weight, per se. I've always had that. Now, to somebody out there who might be a little bit bigger than I am, you're like, dude, I wish I looked like you. Somebody who's skinnier than I wish, they can't gain weight. Like, we're always going to be uncomfortable with our bodies. Now, the thing with me is I like to eat. And that's definitely something that I need to put in the work. I need to eat less, eat slower. I've lost weight in the past, and I fluctuate a lot, I gain it, and so and so. And that's one of the major issues that I'm having issues with. So I started reading books about health, nutrition. We know that the books are not going to change your life. Okay? As in, it's going to be you physically. You have to physically move, physically not eat as much. But what I like about books, and actually I'm reading this one because there's no audiobooks, it's such an old book. It was recommended one of my older co-workers who I really look up to. I like the way he thinks, and pretty nice guy. And again, the books is like that subliminal message, like I told you about the billboard. Maybe if I go out and eat, I'm not gonna buy the biggest portion because in the back of my mind I read something 4 hours or the day before that's just constantly, make me think like, hey, like what we're putting into our bodies is no longer as clean as it used to. That's a way of me investing in myself, reading, putting in that work in some of the challenging areas. There's other areas where like, hey Gus, if I was to give you $1 million, can you manage it? Now that's different. I'd be honest with you, I wouldn't know 1,000% how to do it, but I know for a fact that money wouldn't be gone in 2 seconds. Like some people go buy a house and go buy a car, and then you buy 3 things, and all of a sudden your $1 million is out of no. I'm very good at when it comes to that. I like numbers. I like budgeting. I like planning. I like that. So when it comes to that aspect, I wouldn't blow $1 million. And you're like, well, it's easy for you to say because you don't have it. But if you did, blah, blah, blah. It's like, I'm a strong believer, the more you make, the more you spend, right? And so when you spend more, you can always have an excuse as to why you're spending more. Well, because you don't have kids, you don't understand. Okay, you were bad with money before you had kids, though. So like, that's not the thing. Like, I'm single or I'm not single, you can still get yourself into a grip load of debt buying expensive cars. And by the way, a lot of people do that because they have no kids. They still have financial responsibilities, their toys and things like that. So when I asked that question on YouTube, I was really asking myself, if I had $1 million or time to invest in myself, am I actually doing it? I like to think that I'm kind of, and that's the problem. Kind of is not really doing it, because I am investing myself in some other things, that bring me joy. Having conversations with different people, meeting up with different individuals, but I'm also neglecting some of the most challenging areas, which is, health and things like that. So for the last, 2 weeks, I've been constantly going out and running and things like that. But then I catch myself eating too much. I'm like, damn, like, come on, So whatever that is for you, invest in yourself, invest in your happiness, invest in, if that's spending more time with family, do it. I like to think that I like to do my stuff in the morning. So by 11, 12, I'm with my wife and my little dog. And then after that, kind of my own time again. Many of us are constantly just kind of doing things for other people, and that's good. But at the same time, I don't want you to wake up, a year, 10 years, 15 years later, 30 years later, and be like, well, I did all that for these individuals, and they never even take the time to visit me or to do something nice for me. That's most society. So always look out for yourself. That's what I would say. Invest in reading books that make you feel better. I don't like reading. Okay, then draw. I don't like drawing. I don't have no hobbies. I don't know what I'm supposed to be investing in myself. What are you talking about? Bullshit. We all have something. Well, I like movies. But you just said that watching movies is a waste of time. No. If movies bring you joy, then good. I don't know. Maybe you should write your own movie. Well, I don't like writing. Okay, well, you just like consuming them. I'm sure you like talking about the movies. The thing is, we all have something. We all have little hobbies here and there. So, whatever that is. And maybe it is watching TV for 5 hours straight. That brings you happiness. Do that. Ultimately, whatever makes you happy. Now, all of us have to be out and about. So, thank you guys so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Really, really, really appreciate the support. And we'll catch you guys in the next one.